We're on Kilayim, Perek Aleph, Mishnah, Tet. Kilayim Aleph, Tet. So the Mishnah is going to talk about two different issues, two different cases. The first is one of storage. So as we all know, when we have produce, when we have vegetables, put them in the refrigerator. We want them to last. What did they do when they didn't have back then, until relatively recently, historically, refrigeration? So they would do what's called hatmana. They would bury their vegetation. They would bury it in the ground because that was a way to keep it cool and to whatever degree possible away from pests. Okay, so says the Mishnah, Hatomen lefet utzinonot tachat hagefen. Okay, if you wanted to do hatmana, you want to bury lefet or tzinonot, turnips or horseradish, under the vine of grapevine. So is that a problem? We're going to see a bunch of different halachot where that has ramifications. Says the Mishnah, Imayu miktzat alav megulin, if part of the leaves were uncovered, then eino choshesh lo mishum kilayim, lo mishum shvi'it, v'lo mishum ma'asrot, v'nitalim b'shabbat. So we're going to go through each one. I'll just translate and we'll explain. You don't have to worry not because for kilayim, that's our mesechta, not for shvi'it, shvi'it i.e. planting during the Shemitah year, not for ma'asrot. I'll explain to you what that means for having to take off new ma'asrot because it's replanted. V'nitalim b'shabbat, and you can also remove them, take them on Shabbat. So let's explain each one specifically, each case. Because you don't have to worry about kilayim. Okay, why isn't it? Remember, because what you do, you took lefet and tzinon and put it under a geffen. You dug it in that area under the vine. So you don't have to worry about, it's not asura mishum kilayim. Okay, because it's not, you didn't plant it. You just dug it up. You did hatmana. Okay, and therefore, it's not considered a prohibition, a prohibited mixture. It's not as if you planted it. Remember, we also learned in the Torah, it says, Sarchalo tizra kilayim. And you don't plant things by digging up, by sticking vegetables into the ground. You plant with seeds. Okay? Also, v'lo mishum shvi'it. Remember, you're not allowed to plant vegetables during the Shemitah year. And if you planted vegetables in the Shemitah year, or even if you planted them, you dug them in the 6th year, but then they grew during the 7th year, okay, that would be a problem of svichim. But in this case, since you're allowed to do hatmana, okay, in the Shat HaShemitah, it's not considered planting. Lo mishum ma'asrot. Lo mishum ma'asrot. So the Kahati says that if you did hatmana, and then it continued to grow, you don't have to, there's one explanation is, you don't have to give ma'aser on the additional growth that was done in the ground. Okay, and they learned this out from a pasuk. Okay, others have a different explanation. The Kahati explains, remember we learned that the ma'asot you have to separate during the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th years of the Shemitah cycle, you separate ma'aser sheni. And in the 3rd year and the 6th year, you do ma'aser ani. What if I did hatmana in the 3rd year, in the 2nd year, which was a ma'aser sheni year, and then it grew, or I left it until the 3rd year, which is a ma'aser ani year? So the Kahati says that in this case, I would go according to the original day when I originally put it into the ground, and I didn't, because I didn't plant it. It's not considered planting. I only did it for hatmana. Finally, v'nitalim b'shabbat. This is very interesting. Okay, this the Kahati says this is the reason why it says imayu mixat ala megudin, that the leaves had to be revealed. Because here's what I did. I took my vegetables and I dug them into the ground. I stuck them into the ground. Now I want to take them out of the ground on Shabbat. So am I allowed to do that or not? So maybe I'm uprooting. Maybe I'm doing the opposite of planting. Maybe I'm doing an agricultural act of talisha min haaretz. So says the commentaries explain that it's not true, because since it's not considered planted, and miktzat alav megulim, and some of the leaves are still visible, therefore it's not considered planting, and therefore it's not considered talisha. There's also another problem. Think about it this way: if I have my radish in the ground, okay, that means that when I pull it out of the ground, I'm going to be moving the ground. The dirt is muksa. So how could I pull it out of the ground? Okay, one thing to say, it's okay. We understand that it's not tlisha. It's not picking. You're not picking plants from the ground. That's fine. But it's muksa. The dirt is muksa. So this brings up an interesting concept called tiltul min hatzad. Tiltul min hatzad means, let's say, you can see this, okay? It's hard to see, but, okay, if I have something that's, well, put the camera down. Here, I've got this bowl, and let's assume the bowl is muksa. So tiltul min hatzad would be to use something else in order to cause that thing to move. And it's considered an indirect force, an indirect cause. So in this case, when I pull the turnip out, I am not moving the dirt, I'm pulling the turnip, and the turnip is pushing the dirt. And therefore, it's not a prohibition, it's not a problem of muktzah on Shabbat. So therefore, in each of these cases, if I do hatmana under a geffen, it's not a problem of kilayim. We don't have a problem of shvi'it, of additional growth on a shemitah year. We don't have a problem of ma'asrot, i.e. we go after the hatmana, the date of the hatmana, and even if the vegetables grew more. And you can also take them on Shabbat in order to eat them, even though they're in the ground when Shabbat began, because that was essentially your cabinet. That's your storage cabinet. The Mishnah is going to turn to a different machloket, a fascinating machloket, vis-a-vis what's the minimum amount in order to be obligated to be chayav on kilayim. So in order to understand the machloket we're about to see, we just have to focus on one part of the pasuk. Remember we learned in Vayikra Yud Tet, Et chukotai tishmaru, v'hamtecha lo tabiya kilayim. We'll leave that for now. Sadcha lo tizra kilayim. Do not plant your field kilayim. So it's very interesting. Let's look at the pasuk. Sadcha, your field, lo tizra kilayim. You should not plant kilayim. So does that mean that if you have a field, you should not plant kilayim in it? Or you should not plant kilayim to make your field? That's the nature of the machloket that we're going to see in our Mishnah. It says the Mishnah, Hazorea chita useora ke'achat hareza kilayim. How much do you have to have? How much do you have to plant in order to violate the isur of kilayim? One wheat grain and one barley grain together. That's kilayim. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Eino kilayim ad shiyu shtei chitim useora. It's not kilayim until you have 2 chitim and a barley. O chita ushtei seorim. O chita useora v'kusemet. So Rabbi Yehuda says 2 is not enough. You have to have 3. Why? What's the difference between 2 or 3? He says if you have to plant 1. If I plant 1 chita, he says I need to plant because remember we saw in our Mishnah it says sadcha, your field. It's not a wheat field yet. If I just put a chita and a seora, if I put kilayim together in an empty field, I'm not making sadcha kilayim because it's not the sadeh. It's not. I don't have a field. I just have an empty dirt path. So therefore, if I have shtei chitim useora, if I plant 1 chita, so then I have a wheat field. That 1 chita, that 1 grain of wheat that I planted makes my field into a wheat field. Then when I add another chita and seora, I'm planting kilayim in my wheat field. Similarly, chita ushtei seorim. If I plant seora and then I plant the chita ushtei and the other seora, again, that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, that's what Rabbi Yehuda's logic is based on this idea. And in order for it to, first just to be sadcha, it has to be your field, and then once it's your field, then what you add on, okay, is considered kilayim to the field. Tanna Kama disagrees. The Tanna Kama says no, you don't have to. It doesn't mean your field has to already be something in order to make kilayim. If you have an empty field, then the Torah says sadcha lo tizra kilayim. You can't make your field or even your empty field. You can't plant it with kilayim. Okay, we'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free as always to contact me, artspolter@gmail.com. We'll dedicate the learning to the memory of my father, Harav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a great day.